Finding Common Battlegrounds is an attempt by two brothers, one conservative, the other progressive, to have civil conversations about politics with a little help from their friends.
All right, welcome to another episode of Finding Common Battleground. This is the podcast dedicated to civil debate and finding the common ground that we have rather than focusing on what we disagree on, because that's easy. It's hard to find the stuff we do agree on, but the funny thing is there's actually probably more that we agree on than we disagree on, and it's a shame that the media doesn't focus more on that. But anyway, our format today, we're going to be just going through, I'm going to be peppering Ryan and Josh, the liberal and conservatives who will be representing each side with a number of questions, and we'll just be talking about each one. So, yeah, this is just discussion today. And so we're just kind of shooting the breeze and see what we come up with. This is Trump related, but
Ryan's derangement syndrome is going to come out.
Terrible, awful, evil, the worst thing ever. I got it out of my system. Moving on.
So my question I had here, because I had this actually written down for a previous time, and it was, is Trump still relevant? And I said in response to Ryan's Mar-a-Lago article, which I started to read, but now I'm forgetting the premise of which I think was that he was just hanging out down there and having people come visit. But yeah. the polling says that he very much is relevant.
Very.
And so because I was just reading some articles the other day that he's like basically the front runner for Republicans, if he so chooses to run. And so I guess the question should be more of like, is Trump going to be a president in 2024?
I think so, because who is he running against?
DeSantis.
I hope DeSantis wins. I'm saying on the Democrat side. Who are they going to put up there? They got a bunch of people that have already failed against him. I don't see any new front runners coming up. All the people, everybody hates Kamala. You got Pocahontas, who everybody hates. Buttigieg is a fool. Ryan likes him. We're going to trot out 90-year-old Bernie again. Biden's not going to win. He's not popular, and he might not be alive. So just based on that, I mean, if they get a new,
will Trump be alive?
He's in decent health. He's in better health than Biden.
How old is he?
I don't know about that. Before we go, Trump versus Democrats, I think the bigger question is Trump versus other Republicans.
I agree.
I think DeSantis has a shot, but I don't think he can beat him. I think Trump's just really popular with the base, which
DeSantis is like he's a Trump surrogate, right? In my opinion,
he's not though.
Ryan, he's your governor.
He has some policy similarities, but he's not the same person. He doesn't have any of the same things that. I mean, he's not as outrageous and outlandish as Trump. He doesn't tweet crazy stuff. So all the stuff that people hate about Trump, they don't hate about DeSantis. If DeSantis is the front runner, he wins. End of story. Because he doesn't have the baggage of Trump, but he has a lot of the stuff that the base likes. But for whatever reason, people just love Trump because he's so. I mean, he grabs headlines. He gets attention.
So there have been a couple of podcasts that I listen to talking about Trump and Mar-a-Lago, and I don't mean to make it just like, oh, Mar-a-Lago. He outraised the Republican National Committee in donations every day except 2 over the last year, and has $100 million war chest that is basically his. Yeah. That he can dole out to his sycophants, right? To the people who worship Trump. And he literally is playing this game where Republican candidates from across the country, all around the country, are going to Mar-a-Lago to try and get an audience with him to see if he will give them his endorsement. They're taking out ads where he lives on Fox News to try and get his attention. Yeah. I mean, it's become a cottage industry.
He's becoming a kingmaker.
Yeah, he's a mob boss is what he is. He's a mob boss. Right. And it's true, because if you get the Trump endorsement, and we just had primaries in a bunch of different states,
Yeah.
a lot of the candidates that he's endorsing are winning.
I just read an article, 22, and I think 22 of his, and I think it was like everyone he endorsed basically won.
So when I hear, channeling Josh like 3 months ago, conservatives, and I know Josh is not a Republican, but when I hear particularly Republicans say, "Oh, Trump's really not relevant to the Republican Party anymore,"
Who's saying that? I haven't really heard anybody say that. I've heard people say, "I wish he wasn't." I've said that.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm remembering. I thought you had said like, "Oh, I don't think Trump's that big of a deal. Like he's done, he lost, whatever."
Well, if I said that, I'll retract it now. But I don't think I said that. I think
maybe you said you don't want him to be, and that's fine, right?
When we were doing predictions, my prediction was if the economy does bad, Trump will be reelected, and that seems to be what's happening right now. And
the economy is tanking. Well, I mean, the stock market is tanking. The rest of the economy is doing fine. The unemployment rate is low. Job hiring last month was great, over 400,000 new jobs. So lots of indicators are actually really strong. The inflation is difficult. And then the Fed has just raised interest rates to try and rein in. They're trying to rein in inflation. This is the tool that they use to do this, and that makes sense, but that scares the stock market, which is not the economy, but it scares the stock market.
Yeah.
So stocks have just tanked, and those of us who have money in the stock market are very well aware of how much it has just tanked. I'm assuming, Tom, you're aware of this?
Yeah.
I pulled on mine a couple months ago.
Good for you, because I'm in for the long haul. So whatever, I'm not going to pull.
I told both my in-laws, I was like, in December, I was like, hey, pull your money out. Neither listened.
Did you pull yours?
Yeah, mine is. I've got some different investments. So, anyway, but that's that. So yeah, we've got. So yeah, it's very. I agree. There are some strong indicators. I mean, we did have the GDP shrink last quarter, and that's a big indicator of recession. And then we have like the yield curve inversions are also indicators of recession. So we could be looking at a recession in the next 3 to 6 months if things don't improve.
It kind of needs to happen. I mean, we need to get the housing prices and stuff back on track. It's so inflated now. Inflation's going to kill us.
And that's essentially what the Fed's trying to do with interest rates, right? They're trying to cool things down, which means hurt the economy.
Yep. Hurt it in the short term to benefit it in the long.
Yeah.
Okay, but this brings us back to the original question, which is Trump. And I really care more right now about the Republican primary than I do about who he's going to run against. I don't think Biden's going to run. To be honest, I don't think Democrats are going to let Biden run because he's just not popular. But the bigger question, I think, is with his war chest that he has basically put together and all of the sycophants on the Republican side who just bow down and literally worship Trump, right? Like they fight for his attention and approval. Is he going to be the candidate in 2024?
Here's the thing. To your point, Ryan, he could probably just create his own party and just run himself if the Republicans gave him any flack, right? And he would probably be the main dude because he's already chasming the party, right? And there's a lot of issues there. But yeah, I think he's strong enough. He can kind of I think he'll do whatever he wants. But I think if the Republicans give him too much pushback or don't do what he wants, he might just be like, all right, I'm doing my own thing. And they'll be like, like, no, stay.
Possible.
So are you guys admitting at this point that Trump is basically the Republican Party?
Well, I said if the economy doesn't change, if the economy doesn't change, yes, he will be. He'll be the president in 2024.
Well, I'll go a step further. If the economy doesn't change, we're going to have a Republican president. I think we probably will anyway, because I don't see anybody that's good on the Democratic side that has any likability at all. But it comes down to, is it going to be Trump or is it going to be DeSantis or like, I don't know, Marco Rubio or somebody? I think it comes down to those two, Trump or DeSantis.
Well,
and it probably comes down.
How do you really want a Floridian for your president? Come on. That's me making fun of Florida.
It'd be interesting. We'd have crazy stuff going on.
Josh, if they both DeSantis and Trump ran, how do you think that would play out?
If Trump did his own party,
if it was
in the primary, it's tough because I think there is broad appeal for DeSantis. I think most people like him. I wish I had more faith in Republican voters to just, faith that they would make a better decision and go, yeah, DeSantis is probably a better choice because so many people hate Trump. Okay, that was that's what the last election was people hating Trump more than they disliked Biden, really, right? The referendum, that's the word I was looking
Ryan,
for.
what do you think of DeSantis?
So he's clearly more coherent than Trump. He's not an idiot. I will grant that, right? Like he seems like a reasonable. I do think Trump is an idiot, but a smart idiot in the sense that he's great at marketing himself, right? Like he's a con man who's really good at marketing himself, but he's clearly like Trump's not educated. He's not smart when it comes to issues. He doesn't know anything about global politics, anything outside of his personal interest. He just doesn't care. And that's not true for DeSantis. I think he actually is an intelligent person. I don't agree with his politics. I think he does some really petty things. And I think you both said this when we were talking about Disney, right? He basically was engaging in petty politics with Disney. And he does this all the time with stupid things here. I don't mean to make this into just like Florida politics, but there was a county here that just tried to pass ranked choice voting. Mm-hmm. Right. So, which is actually smart. It's a really good way to make sure that people get the candidate they want. Yeah. The Florida legislature just banned that statewide, said you can't do it. Right. Because it doesn't benefit Republicans. Right. Because they're in power. And so in their mind, they're like, anything that restricts the way that we want to do things doesn't work. Okay.
Be fair, though. Democrats do the same bullcrap.
Well, I agree. But you're clearly seeing it right now with a one-party state, right?
It's a shame.
So it's a one-party state, and they're doing this with all sorts of things. There was another city that banned plastic straws.
Okay,
and they just overrode them, right? Like
we don't need to go down this road because both parties do it, and we both agree that
the ranked voting thing is actually helps your party because there's the spoiler effect, right? And that's basically how Bill Clinton got in, how he won the presidency, is because Ross Perot stole from votes. Bush's from the Republican votes and ended up resulting in Bill Clinton winning the presidency. But so whatever. Okay, well that's interesting. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see if they both run, how that would play out, because you would think. Yeah, they're going to divide that same.
Well, but it becomes a primary, right?
Yeah, in the populace, right? But that's what I'm saying. Trump took all. I mean, he sucked all the air out of the room in the previous Republican primary, and he because everyone else was sort of similar, and he was this unique guy. Now you're going to have two people that are very similar, and they'll probably chop the vote up a little bit. I would think.
But then it just becomes an issue of who wins the primary. And what would be fascinating, and I don't know that Trump would do it, but it would be interesting to see, is if DeSantis actually won the primary and then Trump was like, nope, I'm not playing this. And he goes third party.
Yeah, no, exactly.
That would be,
but then I would think they'd lose.
Awesome. That'd be
they
wonderful.
Would lose.
Yeah, because he would.
That's your only hope. That's your only hope of winning the next election.
Probably.
Yeah. Then Biden,
unless we
find
some amazing candidate, right? Like I don't know who that candidate's going to be. So,
do you think Biden will run? He says he's going to.
I know he does. I don't think he will.
Why?
He's not popular. If his approval rating doesn't bump up, there's no hope that the Democratic Party is going to let him run.
They'll be like, nope, you can't. Or do you think he will? Do you think he'll be like, yeah, I can see the writing on the wall?
He gave an interview a couple months ago where somebody asked him, are you going to run if Trump runs? And he said something along the lines of, "Don't tempt me," because so what? I don't remember his exact verbiage, but what you can see, he's already thinking, "I'm not running." So his response was, "Well, that's tempting enough that I might just run." So that was kind of his response. So he's already he knows he's not running. He's not capable. His wife's changing his diapers, right? He's not running.
He's not. Trump's diapers. I know. I still wanted to bring this up. Now we won't do it today, but I have a video put together of that somebody. It was one of the late night talk shows that put a video together of Sean Hannity like ripping on Biden, but then he just replaces everything that he says about Biden. He drops it in about Trump, right? Because all of the criticisms apply from Biden to Trump. I can show the video if you guys really want, because I thought it was actually really good. But
I've seen these before, and no, I totally agree. It's the same. It's just talking points.
Yep.
Because I saw one. Yeah, where they were talking about Obama, and and they were taking all these sound bites, and then they put it as if they're talking about Trump, and same
just sound bites.
But this is just Ryan's Trump derangement syndrome, because we're both here like, I hope Trump doesn't run, and Ryan's like, no, he's bad. Come on, let me show you.
I didn't say that. No. This was you saying they're changing Biden's diapers, and I was like, they've said the same thing about Trump. That's all I'm saying. Is whenever you throw those barbs, I'm like,
exactly.
This is petty politics.
I can't criticize Biden without you criticizing Trump. When I'm sitting here going, I know.
So my dad, I was up this weekend for Mother's Day, and my dad was saying how awesome he thinks. He's like, if Biden doesn't run, he's like, Kamala Harris, she's gonna just wipe the floor.
What?
And I was like, really? And I'm like, she's not that popular. And he was like,
nobody likes her.
Oh, I think she's got a great track record, and she's like very powerful. And I was like, really?
What?
I was like, that's interesting. But any thoughts, Ryan? Kamala?
What TV show is John watching? Does Kamala Harris have like her own network that we don't know about?
That dad's tuning into?
Was he thinking of like Whoopi Goldberg or something? Like
Stacey Abrams, maybe? Like, I'm not sure who he's thinking about. I mean, personally, like, I don't see much of Kamala Harris, right? Like, you just don't see much of her. And I don't know if that's because she doesn't poll all that well. I really don't know, right? Personally, it's not like I think she's been horrific. I don't think she's been horrific. I don't think she's terrible. It's just we don't see much of her, and she's not doing a whole lot. Has she had some gaffes? Sure, but who hasn't had gaffes, right? Like everybody has gaffes when they're in politics. But do I think she is going to be the Democrats' candidate? And here's the really tricky part about this, right? She's the first female vice president. She's also a woman of color. Can you imagine the backlash that Democrats are going to get if they don't put her forward as the primary candidate?
Dump her for somebody else.
She's a vice president
by default.
She might be.
But she'll lose.
If that's the case,